Geobyte.
Hello friends, welcome to the Geobyte. In this video, let us discuss some very important problems in strength of material. These are all the problems I collected from different standard textbooks. These are very useful for the diploma holders who are preparing for ESET entrance exam. As we know, ESET entrance test is for diploma holders available in Andhra and Telangana for entering to engineering. First, let us take the very first problem. Look at the very first problem. A steel cantilever beam Young's modulus given. Young's modulus E equal to 200 gigapascal. It can be also written as 200 into 10 power 3 megapascal. The same value I can write as Newton per mm square. So it is 2 into 10 power 5 Newton per millimeter square. Here 1 megapascal, as we know 1 megapascal equal to 1 Newton per mm square. This relation is very important. Okay. The length of the beam given, L equal to 1 meter is equal to 1000 mm. Carrying some load showed a maximum deflection. For a cantilever beam, maximum deflection is occurring at the free end, that is given 2 millimeters. If the free end is provided with a simple support, for providing the simple support at the free end, what would be the reaction support at the free end? Cross section width is given and depth is given. Width of the beam is given, width is 100 mm and depth equal to 200 mm. First let us find the moment of inertia I equal to BD cube by 12. It is equal to B 100 into 200 cube by 12. That is the moment of inertia. Now, dear friends, when cantilever beam is subjected to a point load at the free end, assuming the length of the beam is L, it is deflecting like this. The maximum deflection is found at the free end with a magnitude Ymax. Therefore, maximum deflection Ymax equal to WL cube by 3EI. Here Ymax is given 2 equal to W unknown value, length is 1000 whole cube by 3 into Young's modulus is 2 into 10 power 5 into I value. The I value is, this is the I value, that is the I value, 100 into 200 cube by 12. You simplify this value for getting the load. The load what I got is 80 kilonewtons. Of course, from this you will get 80,000 newtons can be written as 80 kilonewton. Since the load at the free end is 80 kilonewton, to have the simple support at the free end, the reaction must be equal to load at the free end. Therefore, the reaction reaction at support. Reaction at support must be equal to load at free end. Load at free end. That load at free end is 80 kilonewton. This is the answer. That much amount of reaction is developed at the support if you place the support at the free end. Now look at the options. Is asking if the free end is provided with a simple support. If the free end is provided with simple support, what would be the reaction at that support? The reaction at that support is 80 kilonewton. Therefore, option 3 is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the second problem. A helical spring applied with an axial tensile load causing an elongation. The nature of stress induced in the material of the spring. As we know, the helical spring is always subjected to torsion or twisting moment. Because of the twisting moment, the stress developed is shear stress. Dear friends, the helical spring is always subjected to shear stress. Those are also called torsional shear stress, whereas laminated springs are subjected to bending stress. Let me write that point. The helical spring is subjected to torsional shear stress. Whereas the leaf spring is subjected to bending stress. So anyhow, for the given problem, option C is absolutely correct, or option third is absolutely correct. Let us take one more problem. Look at the third problem. The ratio of lateral strain to linear strain is known as, lateral strain denoted by EC is also called circumferential strain, equal to change in diameter by original diameter or change in width by original width. Whereas linear strain is also called longitudinal strain, EL, equal to change in length by original length. Dear friends, the linear strain is also called primary strain. The lateral strain is also called secondary strain. Then the ratio between lateral strain and linear strain is called Poisson's ratio. This Poisson's ratio denoted by 1 by m, and it is coming under the material property. Poisson's ratio has no unit. Poisson's ratio is free from units. Anyhow, the ratio between the lateral strain and linear strain is called Poisson's ratio. It has no units. Come to our problem. The ratio between lateral strain and linear strain is known as Poisson's ratio. Therefore, fourth option is correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the Fourth problem. When a bar of length L and of uniform cross-sectional area A is subjected to a gradually applied load P, the strain energy stored in the bar, as we know, if you take the the load versus deflection or change in length, the curve is coming like this. This may be the elastic limit. Dear friends, whatever the energy which is stored in the body within the elastic limit is called strain energy. This is the strain energy. Area of that particular triangular portion is the strain energy. So once again, the energy stored in the body within the elastic limit is called strain energy. Here strain energy may be denoted by U equal to, ideally it is equal to area of this triangle. Area of the triangle equal to half into base into height. Half into base is change in length or deflection into height is P. But for a gradually applied load, change in length equal to PL by AE. For a gradually applied load, change in length delta L equal to PL by AE. Then the strain energy U equal to half into delta L PL by AE into the P. It is equal to P square L by 2AE. This is the answer. The strain energy stored within the elastic limit is P square L by 2AE, where P be the applied load. Look at the options. Look at the fourth option, P square L by 2AE. Therefore, fourth option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take another problem. Look at the fifth problem. If E be the Young's modulus and I be the moment of inertia, then the flexural rigidity of the beam. Dear friends, the product of Young's modulus and moment of inertia is called flexural rigidity. Once again, the product of Young's modulus and moment of inertia is called flexural rigidity. So the product of E, I and I is called flexural rigidity. Therefore, option 1, first option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the next problem. A simply supported beam of length L carries a uniformly distributed load W per unit length. Find the bending moment at x equal to 0, x equal to L by 2 and x equal to L. It is like this. A simply supported beam means the beam has two supports at its both ends. The length of the beam is given L and it is given it is carrying the uniformly distributed load throughout the length. The magnitude is W Newton per meter. At A, the reaction is RA. At B, reaction is RB. Remember, at x equal to 0, the bending moment at A is absolutely 0. At x equal to L, that is at B, the bending moment at B equal to 0. The maximum bending moment is occurring. At the center. The maximum bending moment at the center equal to WL square by 8. That is the formula for deciding the maximum bending moment at the middle of the beam. Now anyhow, he is asking the bending moment at x equal to 0, that is bending moment at A equal to 0. At the middle, maximum bending moment is WL square by 8, and x equal to L, bending moment at B is also equal to 0. So answer is 0, WL square by 8 and 0. Look at the options. Look at the option 3, 0, WL square by 8 and 0. Therefore third option is absolutely correct. This kind of problem is very important. More frequently this kind of problems are asking in different competitive exams. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 7th problem. The relation between Young's modulus E and bulk modulus K is given by, where E with Young's modulus, K with the bulk modulus, 1 by m is the Poisson's ratio. As we know, dear friends, the Young's modulus E equal to 3k into 1 minus 2 by m. This is the relation between the Young's modulus and bulk modulus. It can be also written as E equal to 3k into m minus 2 by m. Therefore, the bulk modulus equal to m into E by 3 into m minus 2. So this is the other relation between the bulk modulus and the Young's modulus in terms of m. Here m is not Poisson's ratio. It is clearly given 1 by m equal to Poisson's ratio. So look at the option. Look at the option 4. K equal to me by 3 into m minus 2. Therefore option 4 is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 8th problem. A cantilever beam A of length L carries a point load W at the free end, and another cantilever beam of same length is loaded with UDL such that total load on the beam is W. The ratio of maximum deflection between B and A. Here deflection ratios are asked. Case A, the cantilever beam with point load at its free end. Length of the beam is given L. Then maximum deflection right at the free end. Maximum deflection at the free end equal to WL cube by 3EI. But in the case B, it is given that the cantilever beam for the same length, the load is uniformly distributed, the same length. Now the UDL may be W. Now the deflection, maximum deflection at the free end equal to W small w UDL WL power 4 by 8 EI. But in terms of point load is capital W is equal to UDL multiplied by UDL distance. Therefore it can be written as W into L cube by 8 EI. Here the product of UDL and UDL distance is the point load. Point load is given as capital W L cube by 8 EI. Once again, The point load from the UDL is obtained by multiplying UDL with UDL distance. So this product of UDL and UDL distance is the point load. Anyhow, you're asked to find the maximum deflection in case B by maximum deflection in case A. Maximum deflection in case B is WL cube by 8EI divided by the maximum deflection in case A, WL cube by 3EI. WL cube by 3EI. This WL cube is cancelled, EI also cancelled. Finally, it is 3 by 8. So, the deflection ratio between the B and A is 3 by 8. Look at the options. Option A, 8 by 3. 8 by 3 is not correct. 3 by 8 is absolutely correct. Therefore, the second option is correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the ninth problem. The ratio of diameters of two shafts joined in series. Dear friends, for series arrangement of shafts, the torque remains constant. It means T1 equal to T2. Okay, if the two shafts have the same material and are of the same length, if the two shafts are having same lengths and material also remaining same, find the ratio of stresses. Find the ratio of stresses means, let us take the shaft 1, shaft 2. If I assume the shear stress in the shaft 1 is tau 1, shear stress in the shaft 2 is tau 2, you are asked to find tau 1 by tau 2. And diameter ratio given, the ratio of diameters of the two shafts joined in series. That means indirectly d1 by d2 equal to d1 by d2 equal to 1 by 2, or d2 equal to, I can say d2 equal to 2d1. d2 equal to 2d1. Now for the shaft 1, torsion T equal to pi by 16 into tau 1 into d1 cube. For the shaft 2, T2 equal to pi by 16 into tau 2 into d2 cube. But d2 in terms of d1, is d2 equal to twice the d1, T2 equal to pi by 16 into tau 2 into d2 equal to what? 2d1 whole cube. Simplify this value. T2 equal to pi by 16 into tau 2 into d1 cube into 8. Now for the series arrangement of the shafts, T1 equal to T2. Look at the T1 value. The T1 value is pi by 16 into tau 1 into d1 cube. Whereas the torque for the shaft 2 is pi by 16 into tau 2 into d1 cube into 8. Now pi by 16 cancelled, d1 cube also cancelled, tau 1 equal to 8 into tau 2. Therefore, the tau 1 by tau 2, shear stress in the first shaft by shear stress in the second shaft, is equal to 8. So that is the answer. Tau 1 by tau 2 is equal to 8. I hope you got my point. Let us take the options. Look at the option C, third option. Third option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 10th problem. The point in the stress versus strain diagram at which the cross-sectional area of the test specimen starts decreasing. In case of tensile test mechanism, you are applying the axial load. If you keep on applying the axial load up to the elastic limit, the body can get back to its original position. Once it reaches to the elastic limit, the permanent deformation starts. At the permanent deformation region, the cross-sectional area starts to decrease. Anyhow, the point in the stress versus strain diagram at which the cross-sectional area of the test specimen starts decreasing is the elastic limit. At the elastic limit itself, the cross-sectional area of the body starts to decrease. Therefore, first option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 12th problem. A simply supported beam A of length L, breadth B and depth D carries a central load W. It is like this. A simply supported beam carries a central load W. The length of the beam is L. Okay. Another beam of the same dimension carries a central load equal to 2W. The other case, the beam with same dimensions means length remains same, but the load carried by the central load carried by the second case is 2W. The deflection of beam B will be, this may be the beam A, this may be the beam B, right? So you are asked to find the deflection of beam B in terms of A. When the simply supported beam is subjected to point load at the middle of the beam, the maximum deflection equal to W L cube by 48 EI. This is the maximum deflection for the case A. Maximum deflection for the case B, your load is 2W. 2W into L cube by 48 EI. Otherwise, let W dash be the load in the second case. Let me write like this, W dash. But W dash equal to what? 2W. 2W L cube by 48 EI. Now, delta max for the B by delta max, maximum deflection for the A, equal to 2W L cube by 48 EI divided by W L cube by 48 EI. So this 48 EI is cancelled, W L cube cancelled, finally it is equal to 2. Therefore, the maximum deflection of the beam B equal to 2 times that of the A, maximum deflection of the A. So this is the relation. Look at the options. So look at the option C, double. That means deflection maintained by the beam B is 2 times that of the A. Third option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. This is also very, very important problem. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 13th problem. The percentage of elongation for a ductile material is. Remember, my dear friends, almost all materials are going for deformation. But if the percentage of the elongation is more than 15%, that kind of material is generally called as a ductile material. Once again, let me write, if the percentage of elongation is more than 15%, it is called the ductile material. Otherwise it may be coming under a brittle material. Anyhow, look at the fourth option. Fourth option is absolutely correct. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 14th problem. The strain energy stored in a body when suddenly loaded is dash the strain energy stored when the same load is gradually applied. You know, for a gradually applied load, the second case for suddenly applied load or for sudden load because space is insufficient. For a gradual applied load, stress sigma equal to P by A. For suddenly applied load, stress sigma equal to 2P by A. Then strain energy U equal to sigma square by 2E into AL. So sigma equal to what? Sigma equal to P by A. I can write P square by A square into 2E into AL. So it is equal to, finally it is equal to P square L by A into or 2AE. Come to the second case, suddenly applied load. Strain energy U equal to sigma square 2P by A whole square sigma square into AL by 2E. Simplify this value, 4 into P square by A square AL by 2E. So it is equal to 4 times the P square L by 2AE. 4 times that. So now compare these two. So this is the strain energy with gradually applied load. This is the strain energy with suddenly applied load. Therefore, strain energy with suddenly applied load is 4 times that of the gradual applied load. Therefore, option 4 is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 15th problem. The shaft A is solid of diameter 100 mm. Shaft A is solid of diameter 100 mm. Okay. And the shaft B of hollow with outer diameter 100 mm, inner diameter 50 mm. Shaft B is hollow. Of outer diameter of the hollow shaft is 100 mm and the inner diameter di equal to 50 mm. Okay, and both of them are made of same material. both of them are made of same material. Okay, the torque transmitted by shaft B as that of A. You are asked to find the torque transmitted by B in terms of torque transmitted by A. Dear friends, the torque transmitted by A equal to pi by 16 into tau A into dA cube. It is equal to pi by 16 into tau A into dA. The dA is 100 cube. That is the torque transmitted by shaft A. Come to this we need to find. Come to the torque transmitted by B equal to, it's a hollow one, pi by 16 into the shear stress in the B into capital D power 4 minus small d power 4 by capital D. That is the formula for hollow shaft. It is equal to pi by 16 into shear stress in the B into D naught 100 power 4 minus 50 power 4 by 100. Now he is asking torque transmitted by B by torque transmitted by A equal to pi by 16 into tau B into 100 power 4 minus 50 power 4 by 100 divided by this part. So this part is pi by 16 into 1 minute, pi by 16 into tau A into 100 cube. Since both are made of same material, the tau A and tau B may be equal. These two are cancelled. Finally, it is TB by TA equal to 100 power 4 minus 50 power 4 divided by, indirectly it is 100 power 4. You simplify this value for getting around 15 by 16. Therefore, torque transmitted by B is equal to 15 by 16 times the torque transmitted by A. I hope you got my point. You simplify this value, you are getting the same value. Therefore, the answer is, look at the options. Look at the last option, 15 by 16 times. So the torque transmitted by B equal to 15 by 16 times that of the A. So anyhow, the fourth option is absolutely correct. Dear friends, this problem also very important. More frequently, this kind of problem is asking in almost all competitive exams. I hope you clearly got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 16th problem. A closed coiled helical spring is made of wire diameter small d and length L. The mean coil diameter of the spring is capital D and the number of turns N, the spring index. Easy problem. It is given small d equal to wire diameter, capital D equal to mean coil diameter. Therefore, the spring index is equal to ratio between the mean coil diameter and wire diameter. Spring index may be denoted by small c. Ratio between the coil diameter and wire diameter is the spring index. Though length of the spring is given, number of turns also given, that data is coming under superpolus data. or extra data. It is not compulsory to use the total data which is given in the problem. Whatever the data which is truly required for solving the problem to be taken. Anyhow, the first option, spring index equal to ratio between the coil diameter and wire diameter. The first option is correct. Let us take another problem. Look at the 17th problem. The maximum deflection of a cantilever beam of effective length L, moment of inertia I, modulus of elasticity capital E, when subjected to uniformly distributed load. It is given like this. Cantilever beam with load of uniform distribution. This is the W. The length of the beam is given L. Now the maximum deflection for this kind of beam is W L cube by 8EI. Remember, when cantilever beam is subjected to UDL, uniformly distributed load, throughout its length, then maximum deflection is occurring at the free end. The magnitude of that maximum deflection is WL cube by 8EI. Whereas the same kind of beam, if it is subjected to point load at the free end, the maximum deflection is occurring at the free end, then delta maximum for this case equal to WL cube by 3EI. Remember these formulas. When cantilever beam is subjected to point load at its free end, the maximum deflection is occurring at the free end with a magnitude WL cube by 3EI. Anyhow, our problem is for uniformly distributed load. The maximum deflection is WL cube by 8EI. Look at the option 2, the second option, WL cube by 8EI. Therefore, second option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the 18th problem. The phenomenon under which the strain of a material varies under constant stress is known as creep. Creep is the slow and progressive deformation. Therefore, it is maintaining the constant stress. Once again, the phenomenon under which the strain of a material varies under a constant stress is known as creep. Therefore, first option is absolutely correct. Look at the next problem. Look at the next problem. A solid steel shaft of modulus of rigidity. The shear modulus or modulus of rigidity G equal to 80 kilonewton per mm square. It is equal to 80 into 10 power 3 Newton per mm square. Of 80 mm diameter, shaft diameter D equal to 80 mm. Okay, is subjected to a twisting moment. It is subjected to a twisting moment. That is not given. Okay. If the shear stress is not to exceed the shear stress tau equal to 50 Newton per millimeter square, the angle of twist in radians for a length of 8 meters. The length of the shaft is given 8 meters. So it is equal to 8000 mm. 8000 mm. You are asked to find the angle of twist. Angle of twist. Angle of twist theta equal to how much? For finding the angle of twist, let us take the torsion equation. Torsion equation is T by J equal to G theta by L is equal to tau by R. You take this particular relation, you are getting G theta by L is equal to tau by R, or the angle of twist theta equal to tau into L by G into R. So theta equal to tau equal to 50, okay, into length is 8000 divided by shear modulus is given. What is the shear modulus? 80 into 10 power 3, 80 into 10 power 3 into radius of the shaft equal to half of the diameter, equal to 80 by 2 is equal to 40 mm. 40 mm. You simplify this value for getting the angle of twist or twisting angle, which is directly in radians, 0.0625 radians. So that is the answer. The angle of twist equal to 0.0625 radians. Look at the options. Look at the very first option, 0.0625 radians. Option 1, first option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Let us take one more problem. Look at the problem. A 2 meters long rod of material having modulus of elasticity. The length of the rod is given 2 meter equal to 2000 millimeter. Okay, and Young's modulus E equal to 100 giganewton per meter square. Dear friend, 1 giganewton per meter square equal to 10 power 3 meganewton per meter square. So it is equal to 100 into 10 power 3 meganewton per meter square. But 1 meganewton per meter square can be taken as 1 Newton per mm square directly. That is Young's modulus. Okay, and coefficient of linear expansion alpha. Coefficient of linear expansion alpha equal to 12 into 10 power minus 6 per Kelvin. Is heated from 20 degrees centigrade to 90 degrees centigrade. The initial temperature T1 is given 20 degrees centigrade and final temperature T2 is given 90 degrees centigrade. Look at the values. This is the initial temperature, final temperature. Okay. If the expansion due to temperature rise is prevented, the rod will develop a compressive stress is equal to. You are asked to find the compressive stress in meganewton per meter square. You know the thermal stress sigma Th equal to E into alpha into dt, temperature change. Here Young's modulus given 100 into 10 power 3. Alpha is given 12 into 10 power minus 6. dt 90 minus 20. You simplify this value. Of course, this is the thermal stress. You simplify this value for getting the thermal stress. 84 into 10 raised to 6. 84 into 10 raised to 6. Okay, 84 एक minute, not 10 power 84 correct, 84 Newton per mm square. As we know, 1 Newton per mm square is equal to 1 meganewton per meter square. Therefore, the same value I can write as 84 meganewton per meter square or megapascal. That is the thermal stress induced due to rise in temperature from 20 degrees centigrade to 90 degrees centigrade. So 84 is the correct option. Look at the options. Look at the third option. Third option is 84 megapascal. Therefore, the third option is absolutely correct. I hope you got my point. Dear friends, with this problem, I am concluding this video. In the next video, I will prepare some more important problems. My dear friends, the strength of material is fully numerical oriented subject. You please don't try to just to read the problems. You try to do the abhyas. You try to do the abhyas means you try to do the practice. Pen and paper work is very very important. Without paper and pen work, it is very difficult to get the success in the strength of material. Therefore, my personal request for you is you try to put on the paper whatever you listen in this video. It is better to practice at least 2 times the each and every problem. If time is available for you, go for the third time practice also. While you are practicing, definitely you may be getting doubts. If you find any difficulty in between, you please don't forget to drop a message to the GeoByte. The GeoByte team will answer for your question within 24 hours. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe our channel called GeoByte. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
GeoByte.